The scorched winds of Nebula 7 carried nothing but dust and silence. What was once a vibrant ecosystem teeming with unique life forms had been reduced to barren plains and rocky outcrops stretching toward a blood-red horizon. This was the 50th planet to fall to the biocleansers, a ruthless force from the Aegis Galaxy dedicated to what they called universal purification. In the year 2350, humanity had expanded far beyond Earth, forming alliances with other sentient species across multiple galaxies. Among these coalitions was the Earth Plant Alliance, a group of dedicated scientists committed to preserving biological diversity throughout the universe. Their mission had become increasingly urgent as the biocleansers systematically exterminated life on planet after planet. Dr. Hannah Viris stood at the viewport of the Alliance vessel, her eyes scanning the desolate landscape below. As the ship's leading plant ecologist, she had witnessed the aftermath of biocleanser attacks before, but Nebula 7's devastation seemed particularly complete. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical knot, and her weathered face betrayed years of fighting what often felt like a losing battle against extinction. "Any readings?" she asked, not taking her eyes from the viewport. Behind her, Engineer Genki adjusted the ship's biological sensors. A brilliant technological mind with an unexpected passion for botany. Genki had modified the Alliance's equipment to detect even the faintest signs of plant life. "Nothing yet," he replied, his fingers dancing across holographic displays. "But the sandstorms are interfering with our instruments. We should land and take direct samples." Captain Arlo, who had been silently observing from the command chair, stood and approached them. His tall, imposing figure and sharp features belied a gentle temperament that had earned him the respect of his crew. "The biocleansers only left this sector 3 days ago," he cautioned. "They could return if they detect our presence." Hannah turned to face him, determination etched across her features. "Every hour counts, Captain. If anything survived their attack, it won't last long in these conditions." After a moment's consideration, Arlo nodded. "Prepare a landing party, minimal footprint, 2 hours, no more." 30 minutes later, Hannah stepped onto the surface of Nebula 7, the protective shield of her environment suit barely keeping the abrasive sand at bay. Accompanying her were Genki and 2 research assistants, all equipped with collection tools and portable analysis equipment. "Spread out," Hannah instructed through the comm system. "Stay within visual range. Look for any anomalies in the sand patterns, depressions, discolorations, anything that might indicate subsurface life." They moved methodically across the barren landscape, taking samples and scanning for biological markers. For almost an hour, they found nothing but dust and rock. Hannah felt the familiar weight of disappointment settling in her chest. Another dead world. Another complete victory for the biocleansers. Then her scanner beeped. She froze, checking the reading again before speaking. "I'm picking up trace organic compounds about 20 meters northeast of my position." Genki's voice crackled through her comm. "Confirming, it's faint, but definitely biological." Hannah moved carefully toward the signal, her heart rate increasing with each step. As she approached, she noticed a slight depression in the sand, barely visible unless you were looking for it. Kneeling, she began to gently clear away the protective layer of dust. What she uncovered made her gasp. A small, iridescent flower grew from the seemingly lifeless soil. Its petals shimmered with an inner light that pulsed gently, like a heartbeat. The stem was translucent, revealing a complex network of vessels through which a golden fluid flowed. "It's a terra vitae," she whispered in awe. "Earthborn but adapted to alien soil." Terra vitae, or earth life flowers, were rare botanical specimens that humans had discovered decades ago on the fringes of colonized space. They possessed remarkable adaptive abilities and could survive in conditions that would kill most other organisms. But finding one here, after a biocleanser purge, was unprecedented. "How is that possible?" Genki asked, now standing beside her. "Their extinction protocol is thorough. Nothing survives." Hannah carefully extracted the flower, preserving its root system intact. "We need to get this back to the lab immediately. This could change everything." As they prepared to return to the ship, a distant rumble caught their attention. Looking up, they saw a dark shape moving across the red sky. Biocleanser scout vessel. Arlo's voice warned through the comm. Get back to the ship now. They've detected our presence. The landing party raced back to their vessel, the precious flower sample secured in Hana's specimen container. As they approached the Alliance ship, its engines were already powering up, ready for a quick departure. Once aboard, Hana immediately took the flower to the ship's laboratory while Captain Arlo navigated them away from Nebula 7, evading the pursuing Biocleanser scout. They're scanning for us, the ship's tactical officer reported, but the asteroid field should mask our signature long enough to make the jump to hyperspace. Arlo nodded grimly. Set course for Outpost Helios. We need to rendezvous with the rest of the Alliance fleet. In the laboratory, Hana carefully placed the Terra Vitae flower in a controlled environment chamber. Under the ship's artificial light, the flower's iridescence became even more pronounced, casting rainbow-like reflections across the sterile surfaces. Begin full-spectrum analysis, she instructed the lab's AI system. Focus on cellular structure, genetic composition, and any unusual energy signatures. As the analysis progressed, Hana studied the preliminary results with growing excitement. The flower wasn't just surviving, it was thriving. Its cells were rapidly dividing, adapting to the ship's environment even faster than she would have predicted. Genki joined her, his expression a mixture of curiosity and concern. What makes this specimen different? Why did it survive when everything else died? Hana pointed to a section of the holographic display. Look at these cellular membranes. They're unlike anything I've seen before. The biocleansers use a form of molecular disruptor that targets specific biochemical pathways. Somehow, this flower has developed a completely novel pathway that their technology doesn't recognize. Could we use this to develop some kind of countermeasure? Genki asked, his mind already racing with possibilities. Before Hana could answer, Captain Arlo entered the laboratory. We've received a priority communication from Alliance Command. The biocleansers have changed course. They're no longer pursuing us. That's unusual, Hana remarked. They're typically relentless once they've identified a target. Arlo's expression darkened. They've detected something that takes precedence. Multiple biocleanser vessels are converging on the Helios sector, right where we were headed. The main Alliance fleet is stationed there, Genki said, alarm evident in his voice. Precisely. And they're requesting immediate reinforcement. Arlo turned to Hana. Dr. Viras, I need to know. Is your discovery worth diverting from our rendezvous with the fleet? Hana looked back at the glowing flower. In that moment, she felt the weight of impossible choices. The Alliance fleet needed every ship they could muster to face the biocleanser threat, yet she knew, with bone-deep certainty, that the Terra Vitae flower represented their best hope for a long-term solution. This specimen could be the key to neutralizing the biocleanser's extinction technology, she said finally. But I need more time and resources to develop an effective application. Arlo considered her words carefully. How much time? At least 72 hours in a fully equipped research facility. The captain paced the laboratory, clearly torn between his duty to the fleet and the potential of Hana's discovery. Finally, he made his decision. We'll set course for the Gaia Research Station instead of Outpost Helios. It's further from the conflict zone and has the facilities you need. He fixed Hana with an intense gaze. You have 72 hours, Dr. Viras. Make them count. As the Alliance vessel altered course, a heated debate erupted among the senior staff. Some, like Tactical Officer Wren, argued passionately that they were abandoning their comrades in their hour of need. Others supported Arlo's decision, seeing the strategic value in pursuing a technological advantage over the biocleansers. Meanwhile, Hana and Genki worked tirelessly in the laboratory, studying the Terra Vitae flower and attempting to understand its unique properties. The more they learned, the more extraordinary the specimen proved to be. Its genetic structure is constantly shifting, Genki observed, monitoring the real-time analysis. It's like it's having a conversation with its environment. adapting on a molecular level to whatever conditions it encounters. Hana nodded, equally fascinated. And look at these energy readings. The flower isn't just reacting to external stimuli, it's actively broadcasting some kind of signal. She adjusted the sensitivity of their instruments, focusing on the unusual energy pattern emanating from the terra vitae. As the data clarified, she gasped. This isn't random, it's a coherent transmission pattern. Her fingers flew across the control panel, isolating the signal and amplifying it. It's communicating. Genki looked skeptical. Plants don't communicate, at least not like this. Conventional plants don't. Hana agreed. But terra vitae isn't conventional. It evolved in the space between worlds, exposed to cosmic radiation and the void. What if it developed a form of communication that transcends organic limitations? As if in response to her words, the flower's glow intensified, its petals unfurling further. The signal it emitted grew stronger, pulsing in a complex rhythm that the ship's computers struggled to analyze. Hana made a decision. We need to broadcast this signal back to it, mimic its pattern. If it's trying to communicate, let's answer. Despite Genki's reservations, they modified one of the lab's emitters to replicate the flower's energy signature. As they activated the device, the terra vitae's response was immediate and dramatic. Its glow brightened to an almost blinding intensity, and new buds began to form along its stem. It's reproducing, Hana whispered in amazement. Before they could investigate further, the ship's alarm system activated. Captain Arlo's voice came through the intercom, tense and urgent. All hands to battle stations. 3 biocleanser vessels have appeared on our sensors. They're on an intercept course. Hana and Genki exchanged alarmed glances. The biocleansers had found them, despite their evasive maneuvers. It's the flower, Genki realized. They must be tracking its signal. Captain Arlo arrived at the laboratory moments later, his expression grim. Whatever you've discovered has gotten their attention. We're being pursued by a biocleanser flagship and 2 support vessels. We can't outrun a flagship, Hana said, her mind racing. And we're still hours from the Gaia research station. We have one advantage, Arlo replied. They're not attacking immediately. They've requested communication. This was unprecedented. In all recorded encounters, the biocleansers had never attempted to communicate with their targets. They simply appeared, deployed their extinction technology, and moved on to the next world. Put them through to the lab, Hana requested. I need to see who we're dealing with. The main display screen flickered to life, revealing the interior of the biocleanser flagship. Standing at its center was a tall, humanoid figure clad in gleaming armor that seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal. The face was concealed behind a featureless mask, but the posture conveyed authority and purpose. I am Grand Admiral Sirac of the Biocleanser Purification Fleet, the figure announced, its voice resonating with an artificial timbre. You have in your possession a biological anomaly of significant interest to us. Hana stepped forward, placing herself between the screen and the terra vitae flower. This is Dr. Hana Virais of the Earth Plant Alliance. The specimen you refer to is under our protection. Protection is irrelevant, Sirac responded. The anomaly represents a deviation from the universal order. It must be studied and neutralized. Why? Hana challenged. Because it survived your extinction protocol? Because it proves that life finds a way, despite your best efforts to eradicate it? There was a pause, longer than would be explained by communication lag. When Sirac spoke again, there was a subtle change in tone. The biocleanser mandate is to maintain cosmic equilibrium. Certain life forms disrupt this balance and must be removed. And who decides which life forms disrupt the balance? Hana demanded. Who appointed you the arbiters of which species live or die? Another pause. Then, you will surrender the anomaly or face immediate termination. You have 10 minutes to comply. The communication ended abruptly, leaving the laboratory in tense silence. They're afraid, Hana realized. This flower represents something they don't understand and can't control. Captain Arlo turned to her, his expression grave. We have 10 minutes to come up with a plan. Doctor, what do you suggest? Hannah looked at the terra vitae flower, still pulsing with inner light and sprouting new buds. An idea began to form in her mind. Dangerous, potentially catastrophic, but possibly their only chance. The flower's signal, she said slowly. It's not just communication. I think it's a form of consciousness, a way of connecting with other living beings at a fundamental level. What are you suggesting? Arlo asked. If we could amplify that signal and broadcast it directly to the biocleanser ships, it might disrupt their systems, or even... She hesitated, almost afraid to voice her theory. It might reach whatever organic components they possess. Even the biocleansers aren't entirely mechanical. There must be living beings operating those vessels. Genki looked skeptical. That's a massive assumption, Doctor. And even if you're right, modifying our communication array to broadcast the flower's signal would require extensive reconfiguration. I can do it, Hannah insisted. But I'll need access to the ship's main transmission system. Captain Arlo considered the proposal. They had limited options. The Alliance vessel was outgunned and outmaneuvered by the biocleanser fleet. A conventional battle would end in their destruction. Do it, he decided. Engineer Genki, assist Dr. Virus with whatever she needs. The rest of the crew will prepare for potential combat. If this plan fails, we'll go down fighting. As the ship's crew rushed to battle stations, Hannah and Genki worked frantically to modify the communication array. The terra vitae flower had continued to grow, its new buds blossoming into smaller flowers, each emitting the same pulsing energy signature. The signal pattern is becoming more complex. Genki noted, monitoring the readings. It's almost like it's evolving in response to the threat. Hannah carefully extracted one of the newly bloomed flowers and placed it in a specially designed interface chamber connected to the ship's transmission system. This should allow us to amplify and broadcast its energy signature directly to the biocleanser vessels. As they completed the final adjustments, Captain Arlo's voice came through the intercom. Our 10 minutes are up, Doctor. The biocleansers are powering up their weapon systems. We're ready, Hannah responded, initiating broadcast now. She activated the modified transmission array. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, the terra vitae flower in the interface chamber began to glow with increasing intensity, its petals vibrating as its energy signature was captured and amplified by the ship's systems. On the bridge, the crew watched in tense silence as the biocleanser vessels approached. Suddenly, the enemy ships halted their advance. They've stopped, Tactical Officer Wren reported, confusion evident in his voice. Their weapon systems are powering down. Put them on screen, Captain Arlo ordered. The main display activated, showing the interior of the biocleanser flagship once more. Grand Admiral Sirac stood as before, but something had changed. The liquid metal armor was rippling erratically, and the Admiral's posture seemed less certain. What have you done? Sirac's voice came through distorted, fluctuating between its artificial timbre and something more organic, almost vulnerable. In the laboratory, Hannah watched the exchange on a secondary monitor. The flower's signal is affecting them, she realized. It's penetrating whatever barriers they've constructed between themselves and the living universe. On screen, Sirac removed its helmet, revealing a face that was both alien and recognizably sentient. Pale skin stretched over angular features, with eyes that were entirely black except for pinpoints of light that seemed to reflect the same iridescence as the terra vitae flower. We sense connection, Sirac said, the voice now clearly organic and filled with wonder and confusion. After centuries of isolation, we feel the pulse of life beyond ourselves. Hannah requested permission to address the biocleanser admiral directly. When granted, she spoke with the calm assurance of someone who had dedicated her life to understanding the interconnectedness of all living things. What you're experiencing is what we've been trying to tell you all along. Life isn't a disruption of cosmic equilibrium. It's an essential part of it. The terra vitae flower doesn't just survive. It communicates. It connects. It brings balance in ways your extinction protocols never could. Sarak's expression shifted, revealing a complexity of emotion that belied the biocleanser's reputation for ruthless efficiency. Our mandate has always been to preserve the purity of existence. We believed that certain life forms threatened this purity. And who taught you that belief? Hannah pressed. Who decided that diversity was a threat rather than a strength? The question seemed to strike at something fundamental within Sarak. The Admiral turned away from the communication display, engaging in a hushed conversation with others off-screen. When Sarak faced them again, there was a new resolution in those strange, iridescent flecked eyes. "We request a diplomatic envoy," the Admiral announced. "There is much we need to discuss, much we need to reconsider." Captain Arlo looked to Hannah, who nodded her agreement. "We accept," he told Sarak. "We'll arrange a meeting at a neutral location." As the communication ended, a cautious optimism spread through the Alliance vessel. It wasn't a definitive victory. The biocleansers were still a formidable force with a long history of destruction. But it was a beginning. A crack in the armor of their implacable enemy. In the days that followed, as the Alliance vessel escorted a contingent of biocleansers to the neutral diplomatic station known as the Nexus, Hannah continued her study of the Terra Vitae flower. With each passing hour, the specimen revealed new facets of its extraordinary nature. "It's not just communicating," she explained to Captain Arlo during one of their briefing sessions. "It's healing. Look at these cellular regeneration patterns. When exposed to damaged organic material, it accelerates repair processes exponentially." "Could this be applied to planetary restoration?" Arlo asked, thinking of the 50 worlds the biocleansers had reduced to barren wastes. Hannah nodded, excitement evident in her voice. With proper cultivation and distribution, Terra Vitae could be the key to rehabilitating ecosystems throughout the affected planets. It would take time, decades, perhaps centuries. But it's possible. As they approached the Nexus, tensions remained high. Many within the Alliance doubted the sincerity of the biocleanser's sudden change of heart. Some suspected a trap, a strategy to infiltrate Alliance defenses and strike at their heart. These fears weren't entirely unfounded. Among the biocleanser delegation was Captain Mira, a decorated officer with a particular reputation for thoroughness in her extinction missions. Unlike Admiral Sarak, who had shown signs of genuine transformation after exposure to the Terra Vitae signal, Mira remained coldly analytical, studying the Alliance personnel with calculating precision. During the initial diplomatic sessions, Mira challenged Hannah directly. "Your flower is an anomaly, a statistical aberration," she stated. "One specimen doesn't invalidate centuries of biocleanser doctrine." "Then let me show you more than one specimen," Hannah countered. With permission from both delegations, she led them to a specially prepared observation chamber where dozens of Terra Vitae flowers now grew in a carefully maintained environment. Each pulsed with the same iridescent light, their collective signal creating a harmonic resonance that could be felt as much as heard. These all grew from the original specimen in less than a week. Hannah explained. "They're not just reproducing, they're evolving, adapting to communicate with different forms of life." As the delegates observed the flowers, something unexpected happened. Captain Mira, who had maintained her distance and skepticism, stepped closer to the cultivation chamber. One of the Terra Vitae flowers seemed to respond to her presence, its glow intensifying and its petals orienting toward her. "What is it doing?" Mira asked, her composure slipping for the first time. Hannah moved to stand beside her. "It's recognizing you, acknowledging your existence as part of the same universal tapestry." Almost involuntarily, Mira placed her hand against the transparent barrier separating her from the flower. The Terra Vitae responded immediately, extending a tendril that pressed against the barrier from the other side, creating a perfect mirror of Mira's hand. The moment was transformative. Throughout the observation chamber, other biocleanser delegates experienced similar connections with the Terra Vitae flowers. Even the most hardened among them couldn't deny the profound sense of recognition and belonging that the flowers evoked. In the weeks that followed, a remarkable transformation took place. The diplomatic negotiations, which had begun with cautious hostility, evolved into genuine collaboration. A faction of the Biocleanser fleet, led by Admiral Serac and including Captain Mira, formally separated from their main collective and declared a new mission: restoration rather than extinction. The Earth-Plant Alliance, initially skeptical of this conversion, gradually accepted the sincerity of their former enemies. Together, they established a joint initiative called the Cosmic Renewal Project, dedicated to rehabilitating the planets devastated by biocleanser attacks. Nebula 7, where Hana had discovered the first Terra Vitae flower, became the testing ground for their restoration efforts. Using a combination of biocleanser technology and the regenerative properties of the Terra Vitae, they began the slow process of reintroducing viable ecosystems to the barren world. "It's responding faster than we projected," Hannah remarked, standing on the surface of Nebula 7 6 months into the project. Where once there had been only dust and rock, small patches of genetically engineered vegetation now took hold. Anchored by clusters of Terra Vitae flowers that pulsed with their characteristic inner light. Beside her stood Captain Mira, now one of the project's most dedicated advocates. The former biocleanser officer had undergone a profound personal transformation, channeling her former precision and determination into the restoration effort. The original biocleanser mandate wasn't wrong. Mira reflected as they surveyed the nascent ecosystem. Balance is essential to cosmic harmony. We just misunderstood what true balance entails. Hannah nodded in agreement. Balance isn't the absence of diversity, it's the integration of it. Each species, each individual organism plays a role in the greater whole. Their conversation was interrupted by a communication from the orbiting research station. Admiral Serac requested their immediate return for an emergency briefing. Upon their arrival, they found the station's command center filled with tension. Displayed on the main screen was a massive biocleanser armada, far larger than anything the Alliance had previously encountered. "They've rejected our separation and declared us heretics," Serac informed them grimly. "They're coming to purify us and destroy the Terra Vitae. Their flagship will reach Nebula 7 in less than 48 hours. The news sent ripples of alarm through the gathered researchers and officers. Even with their combined resources, the Cosmic Renewal Project had no hope of repelling such an overwhelming force. "We should evacuate," Captain Arlo suggested. "Save what we can and re-establish elsewhere." But Hannah had another idea. Looking at the tactical display, she noticed something significant about the approaching armada's formation. "They're maintaining tight proximity to each other," she observed. "Their ships are networked, sharing processing power and coordination." "Standard biocleanser fleet protocol," Mira confirmed. "It optimizes their extinction efficiency and creates a perfect transmission medium," Hannah concluded, her mind racing. "If we could amplify the Terra Vitae signal enough to penetrate their lead vessel, it would cascade through their entire network." Admiral Serac considered the proposal. "The signal affected us gradually, over several minutes of exposure. They won't give us that opportunity in combat." "Then we don't wait for combat," Hannah decided. "We broadcast now, at maximum power. And we don't stop until they arrive." The plan was audacious and fraught with risk. It required redirecting almost all of the station's power to a specially designed transmission array, leaving them vulnerable if the approach failed. But with few alternatives, the project leaders agreed to proceed. For 46 hours, the combined team of Alliance scientists and reformed biocleansers worked tirelessly to maintain the broadcast. The Terra Vitae flowers, now numbering in the hundreds, were integrated into a complex network that amplified and refined their unique signal. As the hostile armada entered the Nebula 7 system, the tension aboard the research station reached its peak. Initial scans showed no change in the approaching fleet's behavior. They were maintaining attack formation and charging weapons systems. "It's not working," Captain Arlo said, his voice heavy with resignation. "We should begin evacuation procedures." But Hannah refused to abandon hope. "Wait," she urged. "Look at their lead vessel." On the tactical display, the biocleanser flagship had indeed reduced speed. Then, one by one, the support vessels followed suit until the entire armada hung motionless in space. "They've stopped," Mira confirmed, disbelief evident in her voice. All weapons systems are in standby mode. A communication request from the BioCleanser flagship appeared on the main screen. When accepted, it revealed not a single commander, but a collective of BioCleanser officers, all with their helmets removed, all showing the same iridescent flecks in their eyes that had marked Sirac's transformation. "We hear the call," they announced in near-perfect unison. "We recognize the pattern. We understand now what we could not before." The moment marked not just a ceasefire, but a fundamental realignment. The BioCleanser Collective, which had for centuries operated on the principle of purification through extinction, began to fragment and evolve. Some remained committed to their original mission, disappearing into the far reaches of the galaxy. But many more joined the Cosmic Renewal Project, bringing with them invaluable knowledge and technology. In the years that followed, the project expanded beyond Nebula 7 to encompass all 50 worlds that had fallen victim to BioCleanser purges. On each planet, Terra Vitae flowers were planted as the foundation for new ecosystems, their unique properties accelerating the restoration process beyond all scientific projections. Dr. Hannah Viris, once a solitary ecologist fighting against overwhelming odds, became the spiritual and intellectual leader of a movement that transcended traditional boundaries between species and civilizations. Her insight into the connective properties of the Terra Vitae flower had not only saved countless future worlds from extinction, but had also transformed an enemy into an ally. On the 5th anniversary of the discovery, Hannah returned to the exact spot on Nebula 7 where she had found the original flower. What had once been barren desert was now a thriving meadow, filled with both Earth-derived and native plant species that had been revived from preserved genetic samples. In the center of the meadow grew a Terra Vitae plant far larger than any other, its iridescent flowers creating a canopy that shimmered with ever-changing light. Beneath this canopy stood a monument, not grand or imposing, but simple and elegant. It bore inscriptions in multiple languages, including the complex symbolic script of the BioCleansers. But its message was universal. From one flower, a universe reborn. In diversity, we find harmony. As Hannah studied the monument, she was joined by Captain Mira and Admiral Sirac. Together, they represented the unlikely alliance that had reshaped galactic relations and challenged centuries of destructive ideology. "Do you ever wonder where it came from?" Mira asked, gesturing toward the massive Terra Vitae plant. "How it survived when nothing else did." Hannah smiled, her eyes reflecting the iridescent light of the flowers above. "I have theories, but perhaps some mysteries are better left unsolved. What matters is not where it came from, but what it taught us. That life, in all its complexity and diversity, finds a way to persist, to communicate, to connect." Sirac nodded in solemn agreement. "And that true balance is not achieved through elimination, but through integration. Each species, each individual, contributes to the tapestry of existence." As the three stood in contemplative silence, a gentle breeze carried Terra Vitae pollen across the meadow, each particle glowing with inner light. In that moment, they were connected not just to each other, but to the renewed ecosystem around them, and, by extension, to the countless worlds being reborn throughout the galaxy. The last flower of a devastated planet had become the first seed of a new understanding, one that promised not just survival, but flourishing for all forms of life across the cosmos.